Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. This on a Tuesday night is the Tier 2 division, and we are going to start off Season 21 for the Tier 2 drivers at Mexico like we did yesterday for the Tier 1. 36 laps await the driver of Tire Heat Hell. As we found out yesterday, a lot of the T2 drivers were probably been watching that race, trying to see what was going on. Unfortunately, one of the drivers who didn't really get much of a precursor to that yesterday was ARL, and he joins me in the commentary box this season for Tier 2. So welcome ARL, thank you for joining me this season. How are you tonight?
Yeah, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, no, it's great to be back and back properly for Tier 2. I won't lie, I'm glad to be on the other end of tonight's evening in the commentary box rather than driving. I will agree with you on that. That is a rear tyre hell track, and we've got our drivers who are going to have a go at it. So let's have we have a great show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, good calendar we have coming up. We'll go through that very shortly. However, what we will do is, if I can get up the picture quick enough, we'll have a quick look through the teams for this season because obviously it's a fresh shake-up for the teams. And what do we have? So we have in the McLarens Ira and DXT Matty 22. Both of them here tonight. In the Ferraris we have Mikey and Lion of Greasby. Red Bull, we have Coke, who's not here tonight, and Ronosaurus. I think neither of them attending tonight, unfortunately, unable to make it. The Mercedes, we have, and I'm going to absolutely butcher this, I'm sure, Giuliano Manu, and Iron F1. Aston Martin, we have the Wolf and Sir Spud, breaking up the partnership last season of Sir Spud and of Stephen. In the Alpine, we have Hulkenberger and J. Ray Bay. New team that is for someone with a Hulkenberg name. Haas, Daryl and Madman. Daryl, veteran of IRL nowadays, returning to see how many walls he can hit. RB, we have Clips Kiri, Trist Games. I think both of them are here. Yes, they are. Williams, we have Jack, TM53 Synopsis, and Matty Rudd, unable to make tonight. And finally, the Kicks Hours, we have NSX Berra and FRL O'Stephen. So I see a lot of new pairings this season. It's going to make things very interesting.
Yeah, no, of course. Sometimes, we see strong duos, but it's also nice to shake it up a bit. Maybe it'll play more into the long run. You'll see how drivers work together, try and keep each other. It's a long way to go. You've got plenty of races and sprint races coming up, so you do need to think about the long game. And it's also nice to have just a fresh new environment within the team. But one team that will be somewhat hurting on the constructors is Red Bull, of course. Neither driver here tonight, so they will pay that deficit.
Yeah, it's not going to be ideal, and especially when you consider the top 12 is what score in IRL, is not the top 10, so even more points on offer in reality for teams. But you've got to be here to get them, and if you're not, you're around behind because there's no drop scores either. So it's going to be an interesting season. We've got Kent in a Williams as a reserve. He will not score, as far as I'm aware, for the team. He will just score for himself. As we're on board with Ira, let's go to. I think there's an Alpine on the way. Hulkenberger. Aero, would you like to take us on a lap with Hulkenberger around Mexico City?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Hulkenberger now going around the final corner. This is a corner that, bear in mind, if you're going in the race, you want to take it somewhat of a wider line, but when you're on the end of the lap, you want to somewhat cut as much track distance as you can. One of the longest straights here in Mexico, very high altitude, so downforce is reduced. But now, coming into the braking point, you've got a long time to the side. You've got to get your turn in right here because that will follow up into turn 2 and then into turn 3, and that will affect your exit down all the way to turn 4. Second DRS of the lap. Of course, the first DRS section point is before the final corner, so that'll pay heavily into the race. Get the car turned in nicely. Remember, again, your entry into the first part affects the exit through somewhat of a double apex through 6 here. Gets that nice and clean. Here is where the trouble begins, especially on that rear end. Can he get it turned in? He does. The rear just a little bit sliding through here. How much risk will he take on the first lap as Kent sets the benchmark on the medium run? But it's all nice and smooth for Hulkenberger. as he comes up into the stadium section. Such an amazing atmosphere through here, especially on the final lap, isn't it? But get the car rotated, so tricky on the rear. You want to put as much throttle as you can, but you've got to be able to keep it stable. It's a little power slide coming out of the final corner for Hulkenberger. Tries to cut as much track distance, and he sets the benchmark of a 1:16.1 of the evening.
Yeah, so a good lap there from Hulkenberg. Remember, obviously, with the Tier 2, we're not expecting the same times as yesterday. I think we were into like 14.7, I think was about the pole time from yesterday. Obviously, not expecting to get into the realms of that, but see how close they can get. Jack is in 5th, Sir Spud 7th, Madman, who I've raced against before in other leagues, he's in 8th. I think Trisk Games, obviously from pre-season, Trisk Games is probably one of the slower drivers, but he is still learning, and he will gradually pick up that pace. So I think Matty's on a lap. Let's see, Giuliano Manu goes 2nd, and Sir Spud is in the wall through the S section.
Oh dear, first man caught
there
out.
He is.
And yeah, that's so clearly going maybe a bit wide, getting that rear onto the curb and just turning it round. But it is qualifying. The points do come on Sunday of the race, so I suppose it's better to make that error now. Was on the medium tyres, so that's something interesting to look at. So obviously not as much grip as the soft runners, but that's his lap done for this evening.
It's an intriguing one, actually. Obviously, the likes of Kent's obviously using those medium tyres. I'm surprised, especially after yesterday, that anyone's really going out on them, because I think it's a very heavily expected two-stop race. This, I think, isn't it?
Well, with this game, they've really upped the tyre model, especially with the dirty air through that second sector with the S's. It really destroys those tyres. The main tyre to look out for is that rear left. It slides uncontrollably. Seeing Stephen through there, really sliding his way, even on the soft tyres. But you've really got to think about where you are in the race. You know, if you're up at the front, we did see obviously Sydney go on that one stopper and was just able to hold off the likes of Merck. It depends where you are. If you are in traffic and you just can't get your way through, then it's worth trying that two-stopper, worth trying something different to the others. But if you are in clean air, then you can just about make the medium hard work, but you've got to really look after those tyres.
And obviously it comes at a heavy cost when you're looking after tyres in terms of time. As we have, I think that's Stephen just finishing a fast lap, currently in 12th. I mean, we've got 3 people yet to set a time, which is Mikey, Darrell and Lion Greasby. As Stephen just comes through that first set of corners, and as you rightly say, obviously these first couple of sets of corners, the line into that first part is crucial. I mean, sometimes you've actually got to compromise your sort of first turn in the first part of it to open up the rest of it. Like for that turns 1, 2 and 3, it's actually better if you carry a bit less pace into the first part, into that first right-hander, just to keep it nice and tight, open up 2 and 3 and give yourself a good run for the next DRSing.
Yeah, no, 100%. The main 2 that you really want to prioritise is 2 and 3, because it's not a short run down to 4. It's also a very heavily potential overtaking spot. So you need to get that traction down. You need to get the best exit as you can. Sometimes sacrificing one will result in a better lap time than trying to go for all 3 of them. So yeah, it's also similar with turn 4 even. Turn 4 and 5, another chicane where you have to just get the first part of the corner right, well then line up for the next.
So Spud in the chat saying pushing too hard. Yeah, I think it's almost the definition through that S section is that you just push that a little bit too hard, you get on the curbing, which almost any part of that curbing through that whole sector you can guarantee you might get a bit of a slide, and we saw a number of slides yesterday in Tier 1 in the race especially. So you've got to be a little bit on the careful side. The only thing, Spud, is do you know what sort of weather we're expecting in the race? And it's a bit of a running joke this era, because last season every time we got a weather report from Spud, it turned out to be almost the exact opposite. So we're wondering if his weather crews changed for the season.
Well, whatever he says in the chat, I'll put my money on the opposite then for tonight. But I think we've pretty much just had a bit of light clouds. We had it in quali yesterday, we had it in the race, and we've had it here and now. So hopefully, let's say, we'll keep at it, but you never know. As we got a yellow flag, or is that just the driver slowing off? I think it might be. Yes, it is. It's just a McLaren letting away. But yeah. Also, did want to mention one of the longest straights here. Just seeing the two McLarens there going into turn one. Could there be some potential DRS slipstream games going on in this quali, trying to help another driver go up a few places? Because it is mighty powerful here.
Yeah, I think that absolutely have to if you're in contact with your sort of teammate. I know. I think you and Ash Tube done it yesterday. I know Ruddo and Owen done it yesterday. It's massively powerful, and I think if you're teammates, you absolutely have to look at doing it. As Daryl puts himself into 13th, the man who has more walls named after him than victories.
Yeah, no, it's oh, Hulkenberger though sets a new benchmark, 59. So on to provisional pole. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much closer the drivers here tonight can get to that pole lap of Sydney last night, which was a 14.7, as you said. So, you know, through the social races, yes, it's been a mix-up of Tier 2 and Tier 1 drivers, but even that, it's just been amazing driving from the whole group of drivers. And just because it's Tier 2 does not mean they're not going to put on a good show tonight. But I'm very keen to see what can that fastest lap time be here.
Absolutely, and in some cases, the Tier 2 racing can actually be a little bit on the closer side to Tier 1. Because obviously Tier 1 reserved for aliens like yourself and Mercked up at the front, whereas obviously as you come sort of down that order, it sort of all bunches up a little bit more. And we can see here that obviously we can sort of leave out Sir Spud's time for now at 18.6. We know he would have gone quicker than that. So we're looking at the moment sort of 2.5 seconds covering the top 15.
Yeah, do keep an eye on. I'm not sure if Kent set his lap time on a medium. He's on a 16.8, so those softs will give him a much beneficial lap time. As we see, Mikey puts a 19.0, and that's put into 17, but just not enough to get to Spud. So maybe just a preparation lap. We are under the 7-minute mark now, so this is when the drivers are going to start to put much more risk into these lap times to try and gain a few tenths here, and that will cost you massively. A few tenths, even hundreds sometimes, can mean the difference between pole position and second place. So more risk, more reward, but do keep it on the track and avoid track limit warnings.
Kent goes fourth with a 16.2. So like you touched on Mikey putting a 19.0. I know he's slightly struggled at the moment getting used to this game. He is on a controller. I think he is trying to run sort of medium traction control rather than the full, which is not the easiest thing on a controller for sure. So I think he's just struggled a little bit to sort of get used to this. As I think the Wolf has just put himself on the front row with a 16 dead.
Yeah, that's a great lap. He's just a few hundredths shy off Hulkenberger, but now the lap times will start to come down. There's a yellow flag. I think that's the car off, maybe out turn 3.
Trist Games.
Trist Games, yeah. Unless he's going awfully slowly.
I think he's had a moment through the first set of corners, and now he's just making sure that he doesn't get in anyone's way. He's on a fast lap, so it's very considerate and very sportsmanlike that from Trist, just making sure he doesn't get in the way of anyone as they come through on their laps.
Yeah, it's quite challenging to get away, because we have 18 drivers here tonight. Just trying to get out of the way of the Sauber. But yeah, no, of course some people might play a bit of game of chicken, trying to somewhat pick up enough of a toe from ahead, but obviously trying not to get that dirty air. As we still do have quite a few in the pits lane. He's seeming to struggle, Trist, to get through. I'm wondering, has he maybe not got enough fuel? Something's not looking too right.
I wonder if he's burnt the tyres up.
Unless, yeah,
That's not where you want to be, though.
Yeah, it is coming into the way of the second sector of the S's, but he is going now. But now, majority of the people into the pit lane, and this is where the finer boots of the soft tyres lower the fuel to an absolute minimum and go for one final time, as I believe is that Stephen just completing a lap time. It is puts himself to P10, a 17.4 for him, so might have enough time to just get back in the pit lane for one more run. It's going to be a bit tight, but he is into the top 10.
Yeah, so good stuff from Stevens so far as Madman comes into the pits. Daryl, I think, will be the first person to go for a lap because he's gone out. And it's an interesting strategy this because he's gone out to try and get himself clear air, but I think at the time that he's gone out, he's actually going to find himself in quite a bit of traffic by the time he comes round to start the lap because everyone's going to be getting ready here to leave the pit lane and start preparing.
Yeah, no, if he was to put this lap on, he'd actually be spot on because by the time he comes to sector 3, obviously the drivers haven't, but he has invalidated, so this lap is not going to be any good. As well, there's still 3 minutes to go. Of course, you want to kind of go at the latest possible timing. The track will be the most ramped up it will be of the whole evening. But you do play more risk as you do have 17 other drivers around you, trying to avoid traffic, especially when you come into that final sector, which Daryl is here. This can be an absolute parking lot towards the end of the session.
Yeah, and that was what we saw yesterday in qualifying in Tier 1. I believe Typhoon was ended up getting caught out by that by people preparing for their laps going into that stadium section. But Daryl comes through. He's going to start his what will probably be his final flying lap because I don't think he's going to have enough fuel to do another one afterwards. But up towards the first section we go, 100 meters on the brakes. Get it tilted in. Maybe not quite as far to the right as I would have liked to have gone, but he's opened up 3 just about enough to be a good run on the way out. Down towards 4. Again, probably about 100 meters on the brakes. Now for this one, he's gone really deep in my opinion. That you want to try and keep that as tight as you can. Open up this one because it's tighter and give yourself a run into 6. And 6 again. Double apex, possibly more like a single late apex sort of into there, but it all depends on style and the way your car's set up. Through the S as we go, taking as much curb as you dare. It's this one here that's sort of the more dangerous one. He's got through there just about. DRS open into the stadium. That's 75 metres. Cutting it again, cutting over that sausage one. You can get away with it into the hairpin. Again, late apex. Open up this right hander because it's a little bit tricky, slightly off camber as well. Into the Peritauta. Keep it to the right, up to the line. It's going to be a 1 minute. It's 17.9 and it's 14th for Daryl. And that will be the end of his qualifying.
Yeah, no, you could see there was some hesitation on traction through the S's, having to just lift off. So clearly not enough confidence on that rear end to stick with him. But maybe, who knows, maybe that car is set up more in race trim. As I believe now we're going to have all the drivers, here you go, all of them coming out for the final stages of qualifying. And I wonder who's going to be the first to set a lap. You can see that massive gaggle of cars going through turn 4. Turn 3, and even coming up to turn 4. This is the issue now. They're all so close to each other. They can't afford to slow down too much because obviously that brings the tyre temps down. And also then just whether they can get to the line in time is another question.
I believe Ira is currently on a lap, and he had to sort of negotiate those coming out of the pit lane. I don't know whether he's now. No, he's still going for it because he's still clicking the overtake button. But Jack TM53's gone up to 7th so far, 16.5. He again another quick driver as Jack. He can certainly be in the running in the race. As Ira comes down towards the stadium section, obviously lots of people now going on to their flying laps. But we're going to stick with the McLaren. You see the McLaren's 12th and 16th so far. Ira looking to improve. Trist has obviously called qualifying over. He's going to start in 18th in the last. Up to the line Ira comes though, and it's a 1:17.8. It is 14th for Ira.
Yeah, the other McLaren driver coming through the S's, trying to absolutely go as fast as he can. Use all the ERS left. He's 4 tenths up, so he could jump up a few places here. He got a little bit wide just over the curb, but luckily doesn't affect the lap in terms of track validation here. Trying desperately to turn that car, but such limited amount of throttle he can apply. Bit unfortunate entry that's cost him a bit through the exit. He will take it to P10 though, 17.1 for the first finished lap. As Kent goes to 15.9, just ahead of Hulkenberger. We'll see what Hulkenberger's got. Hulkenberger's down on his lap time though. He's not going to improve on this one. So Kent, provisional pole is his at the moment. What about Wolf? Wolf is just under half a tenth up as he's got a car in front of him. Is that going to affect him through this final stage of the lap? We'll see through here now. What does the sector time show us through here? He's 2 tenths up. Keep an eye on the Wolf here, but it's going to compromise him. That Alpine, it looks like, through the stadium section. Can he get the rotation good enough? And the throttle, he might pick up a little bit of a toe on the exit, but it's also going to hurt him through the entry. Put the foot flat to the pedal as much as you can. What's it going to be? Is it going to be provisional pole? Yes, it is. It's a 15.8 for the Wolf. Sets a new standard, but who else is on the lap?
No one. Julien Manu is coming into the pits, and Ira obviously already finished his lap, but obviously crossed the line before the zeros, but not enough battery really to go for another run. So it is going to be the Wolf who, right at the death of qualifying, picks up the first pole position of Tier 2 in Season 21, a 15.852, and to be fair, that's only 1.1 off of Tier 1 pole position yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's, it's, like I said, it's still, some drivers when they hear a second, they panic, but honestly, it's still very competitive. You look at the field, the top 3 separated just over a tenth, and then obviously you look down more to the field, all within a very close margin, so you definitely can't say that they aren't pushing to the limit here, because they really are. But now next up is the main show. That's the Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to have those tight times, because I think we're going to see a lot of battles all the way throughout the field in this race. It's going to get very tight, very busy, and hopefully we'll keep it all clean. But that's an interesting pose I can see from the Wolf. That's one way of celebrating a pole position. But Errol, would you like to take us through the grid order?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so Wolf pulling it out at the last seconds there. On pole, will line up alongside Ken, followed by Hulkenberger and Clips Kiri. Bearer will follow in P5 with Juliana Manu in P6, followed by Iron and Jack. In P9 and 10 is J Bay, DJ Madman following behind with O Stephen, Mikey and DXT Matty, following with the line of Greasby with Ira, Daryl, Sir Spud and Trist Games. But Spud still remaining in 17th, so I wonder if there was just a few issues from Games over there, because just not able to set a faster lap time. We did see him quite slowly through one of his in laps, maybe out laps, not sure, but.
Yeah, I think Trist is quite new to sort of the league racing scene and sort of F1, so yeah, not quite on the pace at the moment, but I think as the season goes on, the more experience he gets, I think he's going to definitely close that gap. And ultimately for him, I think it's about getting mileage, finishing these races, because I think if he finishes the races, there's a good chance he could pick up points. I mean, we say it all the time in commentary to drivers who sort of retire very early on in the race. It's like, well, why retire that early? There's a chance of a safety car, there's a chance to come back in the race, and the top 12 score points. And as we know, every point in this championship counts. Championships can be won by literally 1 point.
Yeah, of course. I mean, even for myself, when I drive, regardless how far back, for me, I always go to the end, regardless, because you truly never know. You can have a safety car 3 laps before the end. It can honestly change completely. So, yeah, but of course, you've got to start somewhere as a driver, and, with more experience, like you said, more track time, just trying to stay clean, stay in the race, and try and hope for, maybe, okay, of course it's not great from other drivers, if there's a crash, but you just never know what will happen, and you just got to stay in it to the end.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember a race I done in IRL around Zandvoort. I think I must have gone through the pits 5 times, and I ended up winning the race. Changed my front wing about 2 or 3 times. But we had a lot of safety car, and I ended up somehow coming through and winning the race. So it's a big showing that anything really can happen in these races.
Yeah, it's never over till it actually is over. Yeah, and as well, you never know with weather, things like this, because we know on this game it might say clear to the end, but it can throw a few surprises. The weather on this game. I'll just quickly mention the tyre strategies.
Very split.
There's one man who's trying something different here, and that's Kent on the soft. So this is the man to look at on the launch, and we've said it before. First place might not usually be the best place on a track like this, where you've got such a long rundown into turn one. It sometimes is not the best place to start.
No, and to be honest, even just being the front row is not the best place down. I'd say really you want to be third and fourth here in Mexico, because even in second doesn't guarantee you a slipstream up to turn one. If you actually get a good launch, you end up becoming the leader. As I think Madman and Steven had a little bit of contact on their formation lap, so they're going to be teleported. But I think Kent on those softs is a confirmation that he is two-stopping, but maybe looking to try and go hard at the beginning and build a bit of a lead. As we saw, the undercut was very powerful yesterday.
No, it absolutely has confirmed a two-stop race coming Kent's way, but yeah, no, the undercut is just simply so powerful because those mediums in the first stage, of course, you've got that high fuel, 36 laps of fuel on board, which will cause, the rear to, just so much more pressure on that tyre, and it just takes a lot of life out of it. But as every lap goes on the undercut, you gain an insane amount of time, but then you need to remember, you've got to get those tyres to the end of the race.
So there's a few people unable to park just on the marks. Don't worry, it says they're disqualified. They are not there. It's just that they couldn't park. But we're going to head for the first time this season in Tier 2, Season 21, IRL. We're going to have the 5 red lights. The engine revs rise, and we are racing at Mexico City once again this week. But this is the first time for Tier 2. Who's going to have the better getaway? Looks like Kent on those softs, as predicted. Away the fastest, but who's behind in that slipstream? Hulkenberger and Klipskiri will be looking for some form of gap, but they're not going to get it, which is surprising coming down towards turn 1. It looks like we might have 3 abreast as we enter the first complex of corners. And it looks like DXT Matty's had a good getaway. He's up into 7th at the moment as we exit the first 3 corners. And it looks like we've got away all clean, which is a fantastic sight to see. Jolien Manu getting up into 5th past Barrett as they enter turn number 4. Madman and Stephen going side by side. Iron getting past. Oh, that's one round. That's Iron round at turn 4. So the good clean getaway goes wrong at turn number 4. But at least we had one sector that was fully clean for racing. But Iron maybe going to have to come into the pits. I know he was close to Jack, and I don't think Jack's got any damage, so I'm not quite sure what happened there.
Yeah, besides that, so far so good. All the drivers up and away. I don't see any visible damage on Iron, so hopefully he should be fine to continue. But the one who's gained most in this start, Matty, up 6 places to P7. So now on the rear of Barrett, who is on the harder tyres. So bear in mind, these hard tyres are going to take a little bit longer to fire up, but they will kick up in a few laps' time. As Kent first into the straight, and he sets that fastest lap, but do expect that to come down quite a lot, as you can see how Kent has used so much battery just to stay ahead of the Wolf here. And now this is where the issues will begin. DRS will be enabled this lap, of course not on the first 2, because that detection point is before the final corner. So Wolf will have to just sit back a little bit longer and try and hope to stay within those soft tyres.
So you're just watching O'Stephen and Sir Spud, the veterans of IRL. They've been here for as long as I can remember, former teammates, now rivals. But I have noticed O'Stephen does have some front wing damage. He's lost an end plate, so something happened in that first lap for him. But he's going to continue on, try and wear it, because you don't particularly want to be pitting this early, especially when you're on the hard tyre. Almost guarantees you into more like a 3 stop rather than a 2. But Kent still leads, but only by 0.3 of a second. Those softs are not pulling away the way he wanted, as Hulkenberger down the inside of Klipskiri using that DRS to his advantage in the stadium section and back up into 3rd. But the Wolf looking to hunt down the prey that is Kent, as though Stephen and Mikey were battling into the stadium, and it looks like Mikey's lost out. He's actually let Liner Greasby go. I think Liner Greasby had a bit of a bad... Kent's in the pit.
Kent is in the pit, yes, you're right. So those soft tyres not... They initially pulled away, of course, to get that lead, but already confirming that the softs aren't good enough. But what this does allow Kent now is... It seemed inevitable for the Wolf to get by, as we see. Who is that getting through? Is that the Aston Martin on the Haas of Darrell? Darrell will try and defend this. but just stays ahead of Spud as he gets a little bit of a tank slapper, but should stay ahead.
And Joliana Manu
does
gets
not have
past
DRS.
Clips. Sorry, I
all
was
going off.
in turn 4. He went around the outside of Clips, which is a very sort of favourite move around the outside of 4, because then you almost claim the inside for 5, which is even tighter again.
Yeah, no, if essentially, as long as you're well ahead into 4, you basically have claimed the next corner. So that's the place you want to be. But more importantly, the Wolf has somewhat checked out as DJ Madman gets a 3-second time penalty. But the battle for the lead, 2 seconds nearly between Hülkenberg, but Joliana Manu right on the rear wing of Hülkenberg as they come out of the stadium section. So do expect a potential overtake through here. Both get a fairly decent traction out of the corner as the Wolf sets of 19-1, but do expect, as I said, the fuel will burn down and lap times will drop. But he's getting closer, he's getting closer. Is he close enough to make that move? He surely will get this done just before the break-in, and he is well clear of Hülkenberg, and he will reclaim that most likely because of that second DRS dosage.
Yeah, and Clips is going to be on the back of Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg loses the rear end a little bit on exit of turn 3. Obviously, Hülkenberg's got to suffer the wrath of no DRS, but he will have the slipstream off of Joliana Manu, which will just about help him fend that off, as Matty in 6th has Jack for company. And I think the big question here is, when do the hards become an equal match? As Jack goes down the inside for turn 6, that's an opportunistic move, but a fantastic one at the moment. And Matty does concede that position on the way down to 7.
Yeah, no, brilliant move from Jack through there. Matty tried to hold it out as long as he could, but Jack inevitably got good enough traction as Clips Carey gets another penalty goes now to Clips Carey's way. But yeah, no, these mediums will last a few more laps before the hards start to kick in. From my experience of last night's Grand Prix, the mediums really dropped off as DJ Madman going into the rear of Matty through the stadium section. But luckily they both escape any further contact, as who is this on the rear? I believe that's Berra on Clips Carey, and he's already overtaken them before the DRS detection point. And then that's important, Clips Carey does not have DRS through the remainder of this lap. He's going to try and hold it out, but who's this going side by side? Is that Matty and Madman? Madman gets through and ahead.
Good stuff. Sir Spud now gets past the McLaren of Ira, and Darrell behind was a little bit interested, but decided better of it. As we head through the first sector once again, Jack on Clips Carey. Jack going down the inside of turn 4 on this one. And Clips Carey, I do wonder if there's something in Clips Carey's setup that's meaning those rears are burning up and are getting very, very worn. I know, I believe Ruddo yesterday struggled with his setup in terms of the tyre wear and the temperatures. Obviously a very big factor in F1 25 for this new game. Those temperatures are critical in keeping them as sort of in that optimal region. And I feel Clips' setup is not kind to his tyres right now.
This is the issue that the medium runners will face as they're on the heavier fuel. The mediums just overheat, and as you overheat, you somewhat.
Oh, Darrell's had a moment.
Well, strainers. Oh, yes, Darrell.
I think he's had a very big tweak through that S section. Somehow has saved it and not claimed a wall.
Yeah.
But those tyres will be very hot.
Through. Yeah, no, those mediums will be unfortunately cooked. But as I was saying, is the more wear you put in, the more overheating. The problem with these mediums is they overheat extremely easier than the hards. The hards are favoured as a very good tyre around here. Good pace, good consistent lap times, and they simply can deal with that extra bit of temperature much, much better. As we see he's at the stake having a little bit of an off there, trying to get onto the back of Hülkenberg, but we'll just have to sit back for another lap.
Yeah, they're looking to make a move, but just caught a little bit too much curb through 3, kicking the back end out. But we are 6 laps in so far, nearly a sixth of the way in, and all 18 drivers still on the track, which is a good to see. The Wolf, he's obviously pulled away early, and he's now just managing that gap as I think Jay Raybait getting past Madman into turn 7. But what I do like about this right now is the mixture of manufacturers and constructors in sort of the top 10 region. Only two, I think it's only Alpine and Aston Martin have 2 cars in that top 10. So that has promising signs for the constructors this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a bit of a kerfuffle to try and figure out who's got the most points after each race. But Yeah, no, like I said, there's still a long way to go, obviously, in this race and in the season. So every single point matters throughout here, as we could see a move from J-Ray on the rear of Clips Cleary. Clips Cleary really is not managing to find much pace in that RB, as he's going to try and hold it around the outside. Clips Cleary will just get the inside through here, but will have to massively back off, and that's put him offline, and that allows Madman to get through, and that's going to put now Matty on the rear of Clips Cleary going through into turn 4. But he should just be ahead, and he is. But something is not working on that V-carb for Cleary.
Yeah, the RB of Clips really struggling at the moment. Obviously his teammate of Trist down at the back, but not out. Iron has just got himself up into 12th. He's just got past line of Greasby. And I remember he had that spin early on this race, so he's trying to make a bit of a recovery drive at present. But we're going to go back to this little battle for 7th at the moment, although it's going to be more like just for 8th, because Matty all over the back of Clips Kiri. You feel like this is going to be a move coming up towards turn number 1, unless Clips has enough straight line pace with that DRS.
Yeah, no, don't forget as well, you obviously get that slipstream and then it's a double dosage of DRS. The problem is how good of a traction can you get out of that final corner. That is a really important bit through here. He should somewhat be safe from the likes of Matty. I'd be surprised if he just does not have a lot of straight line speed. But one person is trying to pull away. J-Ray Bays just obviously keeping DJ Madman in the DRS, but he managed to go only 7/10 into turn 1. So he's clearly got some pace, and he's trying to break that toe that he's getting as Clips Clear. He's really losing the rear of that vehicle, and that's going to put Matty a little bit closer. But Kiri should have enough to play with. And who's out? Someone's out of the S section.
I think that's Trist. He's just had a spin.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you see the yellow flag pop up, so just a bit of worry. But luckily he's still in it. I don't think he's.
There's Iron down the inside of O'Steven at turn number 4. Remember, O'Steven still carrying that damage on the front wing. So he's doing quite well, actually, as O'Steven, to sort of maintain a bit of pace with that damage. But you feel like on those hard tyres, the front right especially is going to suffer as Matty finally gets past Clips Cleary. He's having an absolute massive moment coming through the S. I think he had a bit of moment there, which has allowed Matty through. And I feel like Clips Cleary, as he drifts into the stadium section, he's not really far off coming in the pits here, and I think we're definitely going to see him on a 2-stop.
Yeah, at this point, once you've cooked the tyres, as we see already drivers coming into the pits. First one, Joe, followed by Hulkenberger. But the problem is now, once those tyres are gone and falling off the cliff, there's just no saving it. So now, this is what I was talking about. Depending on where you are in this battle, will force you onto maybe the 2-stopper. But he'll be glad to get rid of those mediums. And maybe those hard tyres will hold up better. And depending on his tyre allocation, hopefully maybe might have another hard to go. But now this really shakes up the grid now, because, you know, tyre offsets, you know, a lot of mediums and hards on the track, but some 8 laps, some brand new. But, you know, only lap 9 out of 36, and it's really going to go down to the wire with this one.
Absolutely, and Kent is ahead of Julian Alemanu and ahead of Hulkenberger. So he is provisionally probably in second at the moment, as we have another yellow flag. I think that's Trist Games again, just having issues in that S section, but now maybe just waiting for drivers to come past. Though he can't wait for too long, he'll get disqualified for not moving. As we have Kent on the back of O'Steven. But the other thing I also going to point out, obviously, for Julian Emanu and Hulkenberg, is they're going to come up against people like O'Steven, like Sir Spud. And I really do sort of like the way they drive in this manner, and the fact that as Kent goes around the outside of O'Steven, Julian Emanu down the inside, I think that was a very late breaking. I think we have a virtual safety car.
I was about to say, because all of a sudden that came out of nowhere.
VSC, I can see on the light board.
Yeah, the light board's giving it away. I don't know if we have it on the actual graphic, because I did not see any.
No, we just get caution at the moment. We don't actually get it because we have to look at the map. If it's a full safety car, we have to look at the map for that yellow dot, which isn't a Jordan Grand Prix car. It's a safety car.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad we had those that board though to indicate that, but that's going to hurt now, because we just saw drivers come in a lap ago, just 1 lap difference, and that's going to completely change their race. Of course, VSC though doesn't mean they all bunch up together, so they will lose significantly less time in the pits, but they still will come out on track somewhat in a very odd manner to what it would have been if it wasn't a safety car. But the question is, who will come under this VSC? Will the likes of the Wolf surely must be thinking about a stop here? It is a little bit early, but it is a good opportunity to save what would be, what, 12, 10-ish
And we're back
seconds, 10 to
racing,
12?
we're back green, and Jack has received a drive-through penalty speeding under the virtual safety car, not quite getting the timing right on the restart. But obviously the Wolf unable to take advantage of that VSC, and he's going to have to go back to his normal strategy. He might be able to take an extra lap here though, with the tyre wear he would have saved. And yes, he is going to take that extra lap to carry on. But what I was going to say about sort of Juliana Manu and sort of Kent is that they would have had to come up against sort of O'Stephen. Sir Spud, I think, has come into the pit off of the hard tyres, so he's got a lot of work to do on those mediums. But the way O'Stephen and sort of Sir Spud drive is very good in my opinion. The fact that when the drivers who have pitted that have come behind that are behind them, they actually do fight them. They don't necessarily just let them through, because it is for position. They're absolutely allowed in their rights to do it. Obviously, when you've got like Hulkenberg here now just going straight past, not really much you can do about it. But generally speaking, they do tend to actually fight it because they are allowed to. And so you've got to be a little bit careful sometimes when you do pit, because you will come up against those drivers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you never know in the team battle if your teammate's fighting that driver. You always want, it is for position. There's no blue flags, of course, so every point matters. And as well, it also somewhat determines how the faster driver on the newer, fresh set tyres, where they get to you. Because if it's a corner such as, through turn 8, 9, the S's, it really can halter your progress, especially into the stadium section. It just slows you down so much. But if it's just when you hit the DRS detection point into turn 1, it really can be beneficial. So they'll try and use everything they've got. They won't just give the place for free.
So it's always good. You always get a few drivers that go, "Oh, why are you not just letting me through?" Well, I don't have to. It's you're not lapping me. You're here for position, and I think it's a nice sort of thing to have, as long as it's all respectful and clean. And sort of at that point, if they get alongside you, that at that point there's no point in fighting, then it can be quite good. As Juliana Manu gets past Kent down the main straight. Remember, Kent pitted a lot earlier than everyone else. He's got a 6-lap sort of negative delta, shall we call it, in the tyres. 9 laps on those hards compared to Juliana Manu's 3 laps. Clips Kiri having a bit of a fight with Mikey as they come into turn number 1. Mikey still yet to pit.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Barrett, or in fact the Wolf, come in and Barrett take the lead of the race, because he is within that 1 second gap. Of course, that's normal. Those hard tyres now in a much better working window than the medium, so we'll see what the Wolf does here. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be a bit defenseless from Wolf, unless he's got a massive amount of charge in that battery. But we'll see what he does. 7/10 is the delta. But for the likes of Hulkenberger, they pitted 3 laps ago, so they're a bit on a difficult strategy, a bit too early for a 1 stop, a bit too late for a 2. So it's going to be interesting how they play this to the end, as we see Barrett now has that DRS, and look at the top speed advantage through here. Surely gets the move done just ahead of Barrett into the braking point. Barrett just ahead of the Wolf into the braking point, and that's the new race lead. But the Wolf will try and hang out as much, but you could just see the traction out of turn 4 there. Out of turn 3, sorry. Yeah,
absolutely, as Barrett takes the lead of this race for now. But remember, he's going to have to run those mediums later on, which will suffer near the end. So it all depends on sort of how they decide to go about this. I do wonder with the Wolf whether he's going to attempt a 1 stop, or if he's just looking for massive tyre delta gains near the end. Juliana Manu and Hulkenberg, I think they're going to struggle to make this on a 1 stop now. I think they're going to have to go 2 stop, but this does give them the ability to maybe go far enough so that they have it in a window where the mediums aren't going to fall off the cliff, and they're able to use them all the way to the end of the race. So we'll have to see how it all works out.
Yeah, no, it's just that tyre offset. The problem is the mediums, even in the lateral stages of the race, they just overheat so easily. The hards are honestly a very good tyre around here. Important though, battle for position, Hulkenberg and Ken. Hulkenberg did get ahead of Kent, so that is more on-track positioning, because we did believe they're probably both going to stop again. And Hulkenberg on 11 lap sorry, Kent on 11 lap tyres, so those tyres falling off increasingly. But crucially, the Wolf, okay, that's a pit lane retirement from Trist Games, our first retirement of the season, and Trist unfortunately out of the race. But the Wolf is managing to keep on the back of Bearer, which is crucial for his race because he is on the medium. So the fact that he can keep this long on that much slower tyre at this stage is important for the likes of battling with Hulkenberger and even Kent, or even Jack, who are all quite on... No, Jack is on the 13 lap hard, so he has not stopped yet.
And I think he has not long also just served his drive-through penalty that he got from under the virtual safety car. Yellow flag at turn 1. I think that's just Trist's AI coming out to park it up somewhere. I think Trist, unfortunately, a bit of a tough day at the office for him. This is not the easiest first league race, I think, for anyone who's sort of new to F1 league racing, new to the F1 games in that sense. This is probably one of the harder races you'll probably start your career on.
No, absolutely. It's not easy. The S section, managing tyres. There's so much going on the track like this. A lot of strategy as well to play with the DRS, because, you know, if you blast past the driver once, if they get the DRS, then it's DRS for the other way, and it's not an easy track to begin at all. But, you know, you just got to trust the process and keep going forward.
Obviously, the more miles you drive, the better and easier it should come. Or at least that's what they say anyway. I don't know if that ever worked for me, but Mikey in the pits though to get rid of his hard tyres. Back at the front, the Wolf still just a half a second behind Berra. He's using this really wisely. I mean, Giuliano Manu is obviously closing that gap to them, but it's obviously a lot lesser rate than it could be because of the DRS that Wolf is getting off of Berra. And I think the longer the Wolf can go here, he could potentially try this one stop as we saw yesterday with Sydney.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm surprised myself to see the Wolf go this long on the medium as Hulkenberger gets the 3-second penalty. The mediums were honestly crying out loud after just 7 or 8 laps, so to go this long in the race, as now he finally comes into the pits. But he's done an amazing job to go 15 laps on that medium set. It'll make the hard run a lot easier for him.
It'll be a lot easier, but he's still going to have to do 21 laps on this set of tyres. So it's still not going to be easy as such, especially at the end. Obviously, we saw yesterday Mert come in late, and he did take a lot of time out of Sydney. It was probably a lap short of taking that win yesterday. So if the Wolf is looking for that one stop, then he's going to have a little bit of work to do late in this race. But I would say he's not come out too far behind Giuliano Manu.
Yeah, now it's important for Wolf here to get clear as he overtakes already DJ Madman through and ahead. The important bit is he does have DRS as well, actually, so that was a helping hand because he was behind Berra at the DRS detection point before he pitted. So that's important for him. But this is the thing now. He's coming against a lot, well, fairly all the tyres in front of him. It's just how quick can you clear these drivers if you want to keep in this race.
Yeah, J. Ray Bay now all over the back of Madman coming into the S section again. This is what I kind of like about Mexico. You can see all the various different strategies we now have. Some people pitting 6 laps ago, some people 3 laps ago, like J. Ray Bay as Kiri picks up another 3 seconds in that RV. He's having a torrid time right now, down in 10th, as Spud also picks up 3 seconds. Pretty over, I think that's over half the grid now with track limit penalties, but we'll gloss over that for now and look at that later when it matters most. But Kent sticking on the back of Jack at the moment, almost acting like protection for Jack in his substitute reserve role. But Matty is closing in fast on those newer hards.
Yep, here we go. Matty just having a little look at the rear wing, but this is a double Williams pair, but they are not teammates. Of course, Kent reserving here tonight, so Kent necessarily might not try and fight Jack too much, but he is also able to go for it as Matty now side by side into turn 4. He wants to brake late, but he can't do that. Williams' other counterpart just ahead, and he'll try and do it around the outside, but nothing doing there. But look who's on the back of this little fight. The Wolf right in the hunt for this.
I very much like the unintended pun in that. As the Wolf closes in on the top 6 now, and you sense with his tyre advantage, it's not a matter of if, but more a matter of when. But he may let Matty sort of open the door against Kent first and make that position a little bit easier for himself. Very common tactic here is just let the car ahead of you open the door and just stuff your foot in it straight after.
You could just see though how much the dirty air on this game has been, remodeled. You could see even despite the much fresher tyres on Wolf, how much he dropped back just after the S section. As here we go from Matty going easily past Kent. Kent does not have DRS, so it might also be another place lost as the Wolf will try and go around the outside into the break before the braking point, and that move easily done and dusted now. But Matty, with that detection point with the DRS, he will get another helping hand here, and he might even try and challenge Jack here. But I think Jack might have enough to cover as we have the Wolf trying to have a look around the outside inside, having a little bit of a late swoosh around, but luckily nothing doing as Mikey gets a penalty. I think that was a 3-second penalty if I was not
Yeah,
wrong.
I think so. I think that's the second or third one he's had tonight, unfortunately.
So
the Wolf looking for any sort of gap, and it's sort of compromising then all the way through 4, 5 and 6, because now Kent all over the back of him clips Kiri. Oh, there's contact between him and Madman very sideways through turn 7. I think Clip's looking to go round the outside of Madman, and there was just a tiny bit of contact that just made Madman lose the rear. Luckily nothing more than just a tiny moment. I say tiny moment, quite a big moment in reality, but everyone survived, which is the main thing. And Madman will be looking to get straight on the back of that RB to sort of get his vengeance in terms of that position. As we go back to Jack, Matty and the Wolf down the main straight. And Matty, I think, almost deliberately allowing the Wolf to get alongside here.
Yeah, no, maybe a bit of tyre advantage on traction. I'm not sure. He's still poking his nose, Matty, but he will back off. But now here comes the Wolf on to Jack. It will be a bit of a tough ask to hold the Wolf up here. No DRS for Jack. But bear in mind, the Wolf has actually spent a lot of his ERS trying to get through this fight. Does not have any more into turn 4. So that's going to hold him another lap as he's going on the inside. Ooh, quite a bit of contact there. Somehow the front wing not broken, and somehow neither of them spinning. But they're going to try to keep it clean, I hope. But the Wolf does get past. I feel that was a bit of a lack of patience from the Wolf trying to clear this little battle, because he is losing a heap of time staying behind, but he is now clear by over 8 tenths, so he's going to try and pull out. But that was a late move, and as we see now, Matty gets on the inside of Jack through the stadium section, and he does get ahead now.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think the Wolf maybe just got caught out a little bit, because obviously Jack braking that a little bit earlier because obviously the tyre wear, but also the fact of trying to get a better run through turn. Oh, as Kent gets a bit of a snap. But yeah, I think Jack braked that a little bit early to get the front end to turn in and sort of left the door open really. And I think the Wolf, on those fresher tyres, just had that a little bit later braking. I don't think it was actually intentional from the Wolf to go from it. It was almost like one of those Danny Ricciardo. I've slightly outbraked myself against the other driver, and I'm there, so we'll carry on with it.
Well, luckily the main thing is they're both safely on the track. No damage, I don't think, from either driver. So yeah, no, he is through in the head and out of the DRS range from the driver behind. But this is the important question mark for Wolf, is he'll be wondering, when does Bearer pit? Because do bear in mind, the Wolf should have gained on Bearer, of course, on the much fresher tyres, but Bearer will have the mediums to the end, so the faster compound under less fuel, that'll shape up to be quite an ending between these two.
I think the biggest problem for Bearer is, we've seen with the way the mediums are, he wants to take those hards as long as he can, but the problem is the longer he takes them, the more time he's going to lose, and he's going to have to gain on the mediums at the end with lesser laps. So it's a bit of 6 one way, half a dozen the other, of whether you pit a bit earlier to give yourself time to get the time back and not lose so much, or pit later and be able to push those mediums all the way to the end, as Jay Rabe looking down the inside of Jack out to the final corner of the Paratauta. And I think Jack isn't going to really fight that one too much. He knows that one's a little bit of a lost cause. And here comes Kent, slightly on the grass, and again Jack deciding just not even bother to fight that, because there's just no point. I think Kent is looking down the inside, and Kent re-lets Jack back through. So not quite sure what's going on down at the Williams camp, but some mystifying, interesting stuff to see.
Yeah, no, Ken had no interest in going around on the right hand side, taking to the grass, and I think a pretty expensive lawnmower, I'd say. But yeah, no. But yeah, to go back to that conversation with the Wolf and Bera, the best way Bera can think of this is the best balance of how much time you lose in this stage, and a good balance of how many laps you're left with to try and chase down of the Wolf. The question is, you know, when does that balance start to become the right point in time to pit? You never know as well, maybe hoping for a safety car or VSCs. It's happened already once today, so you never know. As I say that, Bera comes in, so he makes that call pretty easy for me.
Yeah, so bear it in. The question is, where does he come out? And I must admit, the Wolf, that gap to Hulkenberger was about 8 seconds not too long ago. It's already down to about sort of 4 to the Alpines. The 3.3 now as Bera puts on those mediums. I'm going to keep an eye on him, see where he comes out as the two Williams go past, but obviously they're going to have to come in the pits. There goes Iron. I think he may have to come in the pits as well again, same as Kiri. But out in 10th place, just ahead of Madman. And the question really there is to the leader. Where is he to the Wolf? He is about 13 off of the Wolf. So that's the sort of time, because we're thinking Juliana Manu and Hulkenberger still have at least one more stop to come.
Yeah, no, so it's a long way off when you look at it on the track map, and obviously the time. It's possible. It's possible. Merck obviously showed it last night, but it was just a lap short. But the more important thing is Bera's got a lot of battles up ahead. People battling other people, so they're not really going to want to get out of the way of this. As you can see now, how much more traction he gets, but he does go wide as a result of that dirty, and he picks up a 3-second time penalty. So at the moment, advantage going to the Wolf, but this is the problem now. He's close enough to just be within that dirty, but he's not close enough to make the move. But he'll try that now through here around the outside, but will he be able to get the move done? He can't, as you can just see how much little traction Kiri's got, and Bera just really can't do much, as we see now Juliana Manu and Hulkenberger into the pits, followed by Jack, as Bera finally gets past even before the DRS detection point.
Yeah, a little bit of contact in that stadium section for Bera, but he gets through, and with those people in the pits, he's up to 6th, so 4 positions gained in a matter of about 2 corners. In reality for Bera, but obviously he's only actually overtaken 1 car and all of that. But interesting, Juliana Manu, hard compound tyres. And Hulkenberger, yeah. Did I'm pretty certain they didn't go medium. I'm pretty certain they went medium hard, did they not?
If I remember correctly, they did do that.
So they've taken the harder option then in the tyre options to have 2 sets of hards for the race.
I wouldn't exactly call that a bad strategy call, because we've seen how the mediums are struggling, as Bera's going to go around the outside on Iron. They're side by side through the S section here, but Bera should have enough traction to get ahead, and he does do. So quite a heart in the mouth moment there, but most importantly he is through and ahead of Iron, so that's another car cleared for Bera. But no, as I was saying, it's not necessarily such a bad call, because these mediums do overheat extremely easily, and the hards are being to be quite a good race tyre around here, so I can't really fault their decision on that. But going with the harder, medium hard, as someone's into the pit, that's
Kent and J Ray Bay has come in as well. Yeah, absolutely, I can't fault that. I mean, this is what I like about the sort of the way the tyres are now. And it's like it's in sort of real life F1. The amount of strategies you can have. We've got a yellow flag. That is a Ferrari of Mikey. He's gone round. You're going to get going again. The question is are we going to get anything for this? No, it looks like it's just going to be stock standard yellow flag back to green. And Mikey's day goes from sort of bad to worse in that Ferrari camp.
Yeah, no, you can see that right hand side, and even the left end plate completely gone. So that's a pit stop for the Ferrari crew, and he will be put quite far back down, and a lap down, I believe. But you never know, a safety car can somewhat bring you back in this race, so yeah. But yeah, back to the gap. I believe now it's dropped to 12 seconds. No, it has dropped to 11, I think. 11 seconds between Bera and the Wolf. But do bear in mind, Bera carrying a 3-second penalty, and now JB will have that as well.
Yeah, I think this is the second time I've seen J-Ray Bay's name pop up for extending the track limits. It's very easily to do around here, especially through that S section. But as we go through the grid here, so we've got the Wolf leading the way. DX Team Matty finds himself in second, but probably going to have a pit stop to come for the McLaren. I don't think he's going to get another sort of 11 laps out of those hards. Berra currently in third, trying to hunt down the Wolf for this win. Juliana Manu is in fourth, Hulkenberger fifth. Madman finds himself in sixth, but again, probably another pit stop to come. J-Ray Bay in seventh, Jack is in eighth, Kent ninth, Liner Greasby again, another one who's probably going to have another pit stop to come, he's in 10th. Ira in 11th, who's just made a pit stop, as has Clips Kiri in 12th. Ira 13th, Sir Spud 14th, Stephen 15th, Daryl 16th, and Mikey down in 17th. The only retirement so far, Trist Games, who retired in the pit lane. But interesting though, Stephen, I take it, yeah, Stephen did change his front wing, but it seems like that sort of pace he had from like sort of qualifying and early this race, sort of dropping off for the Sauber driver.
Yeah, no, I do assume he would have lost a heap of time. It was a bit of a double whammy, if you'd say. On the harder tyre, you're going to have less turning, less grip, and you've got the broken front wing, so it really will hinder the pace in these early stages. Plus an extra 6 seconds for the pit stop, so it just puts you back quite a bit, unless there's been a moment from him. But the drivers who don't have a penalty, I would not count you out saying this is your end of your race, because there's going to be a massive grid shuffle come the checkered flag with these penalties, because variation of 3 sec, 6 seconds is the most, and 9 sec going to Mikey. So this race is nowhere near decided yet, as we see Jack gets ahead of J Ray into the braking point of turn 1.
Nice stuff from Jack. That Jerry Bay, another one who looks like he's gone for a double hard stint, which is interesting. Getting to Lee Harding, joining the stream for when it gets tastier. It's been pretty tasty already, to be fair, as I think Lionel Greasby in the pits. So we just got a few more drivers left to really make another pit stop. The Wolf, probably the only one I think we're thinking of at the moment who's made only one pit stop, who can probably just about make it to the end, but it does make you wonder if he may consider a second stop at some point and take the extra grip on the mediums, because Berra 12 seconds, he's not really gaining actually as much as I thought he would.
Yeah, he hasn't, but he's been losing time behind Matty, and look at this now, Julian Manu is in this fight. Only 1 lap fresher tyres, but he is on the hards, and we're gonna go nearly 3 wide here, but Matty just gets dropped without the DRS. But can Julian Manu get ahead? He just has a little look on the inside, but nothing does of it, as Jack sets the fastest lap time. There's confirmation those lap times are dropping as the fuel burns. But as I'm going to say, Berra is not out of this yet in terms of maybe the fight for P2, because Juliana Manu is right up there in DRS range, a lap fresher tyres, and of course the hards, which will be the favourite tyre towards the last few laps.
Absolutely, and the other thing as well, I think for the Wolf needs to consider is Jack gets past Madman down into turn 4. Madman on those 17 lap old hards, he's going to have to come in at some point. I think he's going to lose too much time trying to run around on those. He's J-Ray Bay round the outside of turn 6. I mean, if that doesn't show you how little grip you've got on your hard tyres, nothing will.
Yeah, no, you could just see the traction as you see Kent is right on that rear wing of the Haas, but easily through into the S section. I think Madman, what maybe might be the strat is just hope for a safety car, hope for a VSC, because it'll save you a bunch of time. Otherwise, a pit stop now will pull him just, I think, P13, P14, maybe ahead of line of Greasby. As we see Juliana Manu up ahead of Berra, down way before into the braking point of turn 1 and into P2, as you see the wrist starting to slide on Berra. And this is the problem that we were seeing on these mediums. They're just sliding so easily. The temperatures are skyrocketing around here.
Yeah, and the worst part is when those temperatures get hot with the tyres and they start to make you slide, you just increase the tyre temperature even more. It just compounds your problem. Every time you have that tiny slide, just compounds it for the next 2-3 corners whilst you're trying to sort of cool them down a little bit. So Julian Amanu's sort of strategy here of going for 2 hard sets of tyres in the race is looking like a very good option and very well planned out from Mercedes. But again, he's still got to catch up to the Wolf. And the other problem they've got here is 3-second penalties for both Julian Amanu and Berra, which means for the Wolf, he doesn't necessarily have to win this on track. I mean, obviously, as me and Mikey were saying yesterday, though, the drivers will prefer to be ahead on track just in case anyone contests any of their warnings.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I figured it yesterday as well. I did have a drive in front of me with a 3-sec. You never know. Maybe they've got 3 warnings and one of them can be taken off. You just want to be ahead in case this line of Greasby gets passed through on IRA. But yeah, going back to that's another 3 seconds that you're going to have to clear if you make the overtake. It's one thing to catch, it's another thing to overtake, and then you also have to pull a gap. So it's a lot asking with around 7 laps to go in this one.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. 9 degrees going around Ira, and Mikey was unlapping himself against Matty as Hulkenberger got past the McLaren. So Matty's starting to struggle with those hard tyres that are 19 laps old. He's beginning to struggle on them. And Julian Amanu, 9.3 away from the lead at the moment. But we're going to have a look at this battle for 6th. We've got Jack TM53 Synopsis, J. Ray Bay and Kent, all within a second of each other. The question is, will Jack's mediums sort of hold on, or are they going to start to burn up and allow J. Ray Bay to sort of close this gap and get on him? But then Kent's being a right nuisance to that Alpine right now.
Yeah, you could just see though that end plate damage on the Alpine and the dirty air really throwing him offline, trying to follow Jack, but he will stay well within DRS range through these final few corners of the lap here. But those hards really are going to start to be a much better tyre compared to the mediums, and this is the exact moment in time where for me yesterday the mediums just fell off, and we're seeing it here. 6 lap old mediums are struggling compared to the slightly similar gap of 7 laps on Julian Amanu. So yeah, but J. Ray is going to have a look into turn 1. Nothing does there as Iron gets ahead of DJ Madman and Matty. I figure they're just hoping for a VSC just to keep themselves in this race here, otherwise they'll drop a bunch of time. As here we go, J. Ray Bay through in ahead on Jack into P6, and J. Ray Bay will be ahead of the 2 Williams into the 2nd sector.
Yeah, it's looking like a good race here for the Alpine team, 4th and 6th right now, and you just get that sense that potentially that could become 4th and 5th. Although J. Ray Bay with that penalty, I don't know how much he's got. It's 6 seconds for J. Ray Bay, which is very unhelpful for him. But if he can pull away from the 2 Williams, he might just about get to keep that one. But he could end up catching Matty and having a bit of a battle with the McLaren. Although 7.5 seconds is still a lot of time in the next 6 laps.
I'll be very surprised if the likes of Matty and DJ Madman get to the end on this set, because those tyres will be screaming out loud as... Is that DXT Matty in the Ferrari? Or is that Mikey? I think that's Mikey just getting that. Yes, it is. As Mikey's going to actually try and go ahead of Matty.
That's the second time Mikey's unlapped himself against DXT Matty. That's not the first time in this race. As battle between Jack and J. Ray Bay. Jack unable to get past. But further down, Clips gets back into the top 10. But again, we saw earlier with him, his setup being unkind to those tyres, so he may well be ahead of Madman now, but are those tyres going to suffer even more as you come into the latter stages? But Jack doing a nice job, and J. Ray Bay now 5.4 off of Matty, so he's pulled sort of 2 seconds already on that McLaren.
Yeah, no, but going back to Clips Geary, you can already see him struggling on a 6-lap medium to the point that he's not really having a much better traction than the likes of a 21 lap old hard of DJ Madman. So the mediums here, they just don't seem like a reliable tyre. It's you know, it's a do or do not. You know, you've got to gamble it a bit as you see him sliding off, and he goes wide actually from the S section. But yeah, no, more importantly, J. Ray Bay closing in on Matty. But he's dragging the Williams along with this as well. They are still within DRS range. Yeah,
it's very important here for Jack to stay in that DRS range, to drag himself up to the back of Matty, because he could easily get a top 5 here, can Jack. Obviously with J-Ray-Bay's penalty, even if J-Ray-Bay contests a warning here, he's still going to have at least 3 seconds of penalty. So it's crucial here for the Williams drivers to stay with him and see if they can take advantage of this against Matty and J-Ray-Bay. But one thing I must note here, the Wolf, I mean, he is driving superbly. That gap's still 9 seconds. We were expecting Juliana Manu and Berra to rip the time out of him, but it's just not happening. The Wolf's pace, even on these 16-lap old hard tyres, is absolutely fantastic compared to the rest of the field.
Yeah, no, he's done everything right he's had to do tonight. He hasn't put a foot wrong, and I hope it stays like that for the last 4 laps, because he's perfectly checked out of this race. One thing I do want to mention as well, silently but not unnoticeably, Hulkenberg is closing that gap to Berra. So there's a fight for the podium here as we have a yellow flag in Sector 3. Who's that? As it's gone to green. Couldn't quite manage to catch it, but I think it's in that train of J-Ray-Bay and Jack. It might be the Ferrari, actually, Mikey.
Yeah, it might be Mikey, maybe sort of trying to give way to everyone under the blue flags, but obviously going slow enough to bring out the yellows.
Yeah, so it's always a bit worrying to see that yellow flag pop up. But now, look at this, Hulkenberger, not within DRS range, but he is, well, sorry, not within DRS, but now he is at the end of the corner number 5 and entering the double apex of 6. So, here we go then, fight for the final podium position as there's a yellow flag. It's a McLaren.
IRL, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Ooh, cutting the grass.
I think he's struggling on those 22-lap old hards. He's now finding that his boots no longer have any tread on them, and the grip is non-existent on them. As Lionel Griesby gets past Sir Spud down towards turn number 1. But as we go back to Hulkenberger and Berra, this is going to get interesting as Ira gets out of the way. Good driving from him to make sure he doesn't interrupt this battle. And Hulkenberg, you feel this should be incredibly easy for the Alpine down this main straight.
Yeah, no, you can just see that the hards are just coping much better than the mediums, and this should be done and dusted well before the breaking point. But I say that, Berra's trying to give it a fight using the ERS. He's going to try and take the outside lane, and unfortunately, Hulkenberg goes very late on the brakes. In fact,
Berra's on the grass.
Running off. And Berra's on the grass as well. What's happened there?
I think Berra had a bit. I wonder if Berra had a bit of a sort of overcorrection, maybe thinking that Hulkenberg was going to come further across between 1 and 2, and he's just given a bit too much space and ended up on the grass himself. Meanwhile, the battle for 5th is right on here, as here comes J-Ray-Bay down the inside of Matty. I think Matty's going to have no real choice. As we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1 for some bizarre reason. Jack down the inside for turn 6. J-Ray-Bay gets it done through 4 and 5. Jack follows him through, and now all Jack has to do is stick with that Alpine, and 5th place will be his.
Yeah, sometimes when you're overtaking a back marker or a much slower drive on those other tyres, you hope to try and gain a bit of an advantage. It looked to me like it could be just out 1 second. No, it isn't. So DRS still enabled on Jack. So J-Ray-Bay would have been hoping that he would clear that DRS detection point over a second, but it's not happened this time round, as Jack will well be in on the slipstream. I wonder what your opinion is on this. The detection point obviously covering 2 DRS zones. It's somewhat of both an odd one where the driver gets through into turn 1 and then has somewhat of a defensive mechanism against you into turn 4. It's a bit. Some drivers like it, some drivers don't. It's a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of work on 2 halves with this, because I think it's good on the basis that it allows a driver to close up enough, sort of, so that when they go through 1, 2, 3, they then have the opportunity into 4. But then I would also prefer that if the driver makes the overtake into that first 3 corners, that they then lose that advantage and create another sort of battle of overtaking into turn 4. So it's a bit of a weird one. I like it because it gives drivers sort of 2 bites of the cherry if they know they can't get it done in the first part, but then it also takes away that sort of secondary battle element in that first sector. Lionel Griesby goes past Kent. So yeah, it's one of those sort of weird ones. Oh, and Jack's picked up 3 seconds worth of penalty, so as does Matty. Pretty much the whole field, apart from most Stephen and the Wolf, have got track limit penalties. I am displaying them on your screens at the moment so you know who's got what, so you can see where people are going to drop. Kent's penalty, not a track limit, it is a 10-second for speeding in the pit lane. But going back to what we were discussing, Harry, yeah, I'm a bit sort of half one way, half the other on it. It's like I like it in some aspects, but I don't like it in others.
Yeah, that's the problem. It creates advantages and it also creates problems at the same time. It reminds me somewhat of the Abu Dhabi turn 6, 7, where you have that straight out of 5, and then obviously you have that chicane, which, you know, similarly here you obviously have turn 1, 2, and 3, and then you have that second straight. But the difference at Abu Dhabi is you have that second detection point just after or into the braking point of 6, if I'm not too wrong.
It's normally, I think it's.
I
think it's on the exit of 7.
Oh yes, you're right. Yes.
So it allows them to make the overtake.
Yeah.
Stephen gets past
so
Kent. I feel like Kent's. I've got a feeling. I don't know if Kent's sort of allowing others through and past now because he is just a reserve. He raced yesterday in Tier 1. I do wonder as we've not accidentally not covered it, but the Wolf has won the Mexican Grand Prix. He was just behind Kent that I was looking at, but the Wolf wins here at Mexico. Juliana Manu comes home in second. Hulkenberger completes the podium. NSX Bearer's going to come through. He's going to be in fourth. J. Ray Bay fifth on the road, but it's going to be sixth for him as Jack T and 53 Synopsis takes that place. So Jerry Bay sixth. DXT Matty, an unbelievable effort to stick on those tyres, 7th for him. Iron will come home in 8th. Clips Kiri is going to be 9th on the road. I think he's just about going to keep that 9th on the road as well because he's over 3 seconds clear of Madman. But 9th for him. Madman's going to keep hold of his top 10 spot, I think, by quite some margin actually. So 10th for the Hash driver. Mikey is going to come home in 17th there. Darren and Ira already finished. Lionel Greasby just coming through the stadium section, and we've got a spinner of Stephen right on the last lap. Don't do that. I mean, you're not in the points positions anyway, but don't crash on the last lap. That's not the ideal tactic.
Absolutely not. All that hard work just to end a couple of corners before the end is, I don't think, something any driver would like. But yeah, Stephen coming around the final few corners, hoping that these fireworks are for him.
Kent steals the fastest lap off of Jack.
Yeah. I was going to say, one thing I noticed is Kent backed off to try and give way, but steal DRS for his lap. So, a bit of strategic call from him. But that is the end of the very first round here at Tier 2. But completely missing out on the Wolf there, because he completely checked out that race and had it all covered.
Well, completely checked out, and obviously looking at other drivers, not realising that he was right behind Kent, looking to maybe lap him potentially, but he fights his way onto the podium and for a victory, and it's a good start for the Aston Martin team, although I think the Alpine team have had a very good day, 3rd and 6th for them. As we move away, let's just have a look at the Games Awards. I still can't get over the Wolf's reaction to his win and pole position there. It's a fantastic effort. But obviously, race winner of the Wolf, fastest lap goes to Kent. Driver of the day by the game goes to Joliana Manu. Not a bad one in my opinion, but I think I'd probably choose differently in a bit. Most overtakes, DXT Matty, not a surprise there. Cleanest driver, the Wolf. And we'll quickly nip through the results provisionally. The Wolf, Juliana Manu, Hulkenberger, Barrett, Jack, J. Ray Bay, Matty, Iron, Clips Kiri, Madman, Lionel Greasby, Sir Spud, Stephen, Daryl, Ira, Mikey, Trist Games. The only retirement tonight, which is fantastic to see. Well, I say not fantastic for Trist, but fantastic for us to see 17 of the 18 cars completing this race.
Yeah, no, it's great to see majority, and as well, no major crashes, so it all kept it fairly cleanly. A few bumps and scrapes, but no, good way to start the opening round here. And it's still a long way to go. I'm sure the Wolf will take that with massive confidence for the Aston Martin team, and as well, likes of Alpine, they should also be well in the fight here with 2 cars in the points finishes. But I do want to say as well, good job from Sir Spud there. He did start on the back row and got himself into the points, so good drive from him. Recovery for the Spud.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always worth sort of noting those types of drivers because Sir Spud's one of those drivers who he'll admit he's not the fastest driver on the grid. He'll be the first to admit that, but what he does do, he stays out of trouble and just picks up the pieces every time. And he, like last season in F124, he got some fantastic results just by staying out of trouble and just getting through the race in as clean a fashion as he can, staying away from as much of the track limits as he could. And yeah, he gained a lot of points just by doing that, and it's a fantastic way of driving to ensure consistency.
Yeah, of course. And you have that saying of you're never going to win the race in the first corner. Similar thing in the championship. You're not going to win it by just throwing the car around in one race. You've still got plenty of rounds to go, and drives like that is what will make the difference. So yeah, good effort from him.
And speaking of lots of rounds to come, obviously we have a 10 race calendar this season in season 21. Round 1 done at Mexico. Next week we head to Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in ARL. That one's always a fascinating one. It's an incredible track to drive at, but the margins so fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely, completely different track to Mexico. In some regard, of course, Sector 2 similar, but all those walls around you, you've got to you've got to send it with confidence for a track like this. This is a track where you can't somewhat hesitate on, and every little bit of track you cut, as close as you can to the wall, that will give you an immense amount of confidence and as well cut that lap time massively. So it's a track in which fortune favours the bold, definitely.
Absolutely, and we'll just quickly go through the rest of the calendar for season 21. Obviously, round 3 at Imola, sprint evening. That's going to make things very interesting. Imola, very old school circuit, great driving circuit. Then we head to the streets of Monaco, which, let's just face it, it doesn't matter how clean a lobby you have, it's going to be carnage.
No, absolutely.
Interlagos follows for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix for round number 5. To which we then have a break week after that one, and then return with a sprint race at Albert Park in Australia. Miami follows that for round number 7 with Zandvoort round 8. The final sprint evening comes from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada, and as it does for most seasons in real life, as it has done since 2010, I believe. The Yas Marina circuit, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, rounds out our season as the finale. It's fair to say we've got a very diverse calendar this season, and it should make for some very competitive racing.
Yeah, no, of course, and having the sprint race weekends, changes the format completely. Tyre allocation as well, you are a bit tighter for the race because of using that most likely medium in the sprint. So it'll be intriguing, and actually it'll be nice to see a sprint because obviously with our evaluation races and social, we've kept it to the regular 50% race with the 18-minute quali, or I think there was a one shot actually. But with the tyre wear on this game much more than previous, it will really be spicy for those weekends. But I will be lying if I say I'm not looking forward to Monaco because that will be a very I'll just say eventful Grand Prix. I'll say.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the jewel of F1 is also sort of the Grim Reaper of F1 all at the same time, I think. Spud obviously congratulating his teammate of Wolf tonight and saying he's not looking forward to Monaco either. I think with Monaco, I think a lot of people look forward to it, but also dread it all at the same time because, again, it's one of those circuits that when you get it right, it's just unbelievable to drive it when you get it right. When you get it wrong, you absolutely hate that place.
Oh no, absolutely. It's a track where the highs are very high and the lows are very low. But the emphasis on qualifying will be incredibly high, of course. I don't know how many times we can get to see an overtake side by side properly done around there, but as well, you never know with weather and things like that. But yeah, no, definitely, hopefully, eventful stuff to come.
Yeah, and we do have to remember this is a game, and we don't necessarily overtake in the normal overtaking spots in a game. That's for certain. There's been quite a few in real life moves I look at and I go, that's a video game maneuver, not a real life one, but fair play.
Well, a move's a move, huh? As long as it's clean, it's yeah, we'll take the move. Position gain, thank you very much.
Apparently, it's just by saying his finish percentage at Monaco is 20%, so high chances of a podium there for him. But as we say, we've drawn to a close here in Tier 2. That was the opener of Season 21 for Tier 2. And I think it sets up the season really, really nicely. It's going to be a fantastic 10 rounds of racing. And I'm sure anyone who's watching won't want to miss any of it. So make sure you like the stream tonight, because I mean the racing's been fantastic. And also make sure you press the notifications so you get a notification when we go live for our races, because we're going to have all of Season 21 live streamed and commentaried on all throughout the season, so you don't miss a single lap of racing. But for myself and IRL, thank you for joining us tonight. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And join us next week as we have the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. On Monday it is tier number 1. I think I'm back with Mikey for that one. And myself and IRL will be back on Tuesday for tier 2, as we will be for the entire season. But for myself and IRL, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your night.